Welcome to episode 9 of In Top 4.
It's my newest training tool.
Remember
It's
that.
at the office.
It's perfect.
Oh,
I will add this to my timeline.
see how I'm going to remember that now?
Amplified noise.
It was an ode to Asia. On our trip, we noticed that there was amplified sound, voices,
Yeah.
music everywhere. So, what I should do, we're going to add this to the timeline while we're waiting for you guys to hop on. And if it looks crowded today, stay with us because there's all kinds of good stuff going on. Oh, you're going to do it for me?
We have
Help me
technically
with it.
stayed under 3 books and under today.
Well, I only no. This isn't even a book. I'm not making any book recommendations. I
Okay.
have these emulsified
But
oils.
this is a book.
It is a book, but it's not a recommendation.
Okay.
I mean, I have recommended it, but this is actually, we're going to give this away.
Oh,
This
it's
is a
prize.
big piece. It's a
not
prize,
book.
as are these. Yeah,
Very nice.
this is not a prize.
This is just something you're going to want to get.
It's surprisingly well priced, and it gets results. The megaphone,
Yeah.
It's not popping up.
both in the neighborhood.
I'm
So
sure I'll share it to you all.
yeah, thanks. So we are. So let's tell everybody we're looking for an intern.
Yes.
Because we got a lot going on, and by the way, we're going to have to pull the sound off of this because we didn't put the Zoom up.
Oh yeah, that's fine though. I can.
Yeah,
Because
but
we
only
had
because
some-
of you.
Right.
We had episode 8. We appreciate everybody letting us know. There's a sound quality issue there, so we'll be fixing that. Episode 9, by the way, you're going to want to listen in because the new intro music has arrived for episode 9.
It has arrived. It's been a long time coming, I guess. Too long.
It has been too long, but it's going to be good, and you will not regret the wait. So today is part 2 of Sam started to interrogate me last week on some of the 3 solid days of marketing information that we got at Traffic and Conversion. Alex wasn't with us though, so we wanted to add one because we couldn't even condense it into 1 hour. We had to get the second hour. But also Alex is more of a pure internet marketer, whereas the two of us are bricks and mortar,
Yeah.
using the internet for client and customer experience. And that's one of the things that I want to sort of emphasize to everybody. Oh, by the way, I want to give Sam credit for this. This is a vest that I'm wearing today with a hood, because the hood did get like rave reviews last week.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Sam said this is for when your head is cold,
But your arms are warm.
super hot. I also,
I mean, that's marketing, right? It's identifying the problem and finding the solution, right?
and these guys, they figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alex will be with us today. We're going to go over more of what we got at Traffic and Conversion. But here's the big strategic thing to be thinking about today as you listen to all this. Is yes, we want you to get better return on investment with your marketing. Yes, we want you to get more of exactly the kind of patients and clients and customers you want with bigger, better margins. But all of that assumes that you're going to be able to deliver a truly superior. Are you out of the shot there, Alex?
A little bit. I scooted in.
Okay. We really want you to be focused on taking these things and saying to yourself, how can I make a better client, patient, customer experience with these things? Because that's going to allow you, when you add value, to add margin. People are going to be happier. And we're going to take you through a couple of things that we reminded you of last week, just in case you missed that show. We have some prizes.
Very nice.
We have some products, I guess it's an endorsement, but we just want to talk about them because we've been trying these. And we have some segments this week on a couple of different things. So yeah, right now we're going to get into it and talk about, again, how specifically we're going to help you to really build that client, case, customer, patient experience. One of the things that I remarked upon, I don't know if you remember who said this, but at one of the programs at Traffic and Conversion, I heard this. Advertising, which is part of our marketing experience, is the price we pay for an ineffective or incomplete brand and marketing. I think I modified that quote a little bit. So to the extent that we can make our marketing more effective, more client, customer driven, the cost of advertising is probably going to go down. And people may be saying, well, how is that possible? And the reason is when you really know who your best buyers are and who you're really efficient at serving, you really know where to go look for them. And they tend to be less expensive or possibly more expensive per customer you're acquiring. If you're acquiring really strong super customers that are buying and buying, again, it might bring that cost of acquisition down a little bit for you.
Right.
One of the things that I saw that really got me thinking in a different way was this description of the client, customer, patient journey. And we glossed over this last week, but I've really been rethinking almost everything I do and aligning the metrics with this idea. First, sometimes you just have to make people who aren't aware of you, of your brand and what you do. Next, there's engagement. You're just trying to get them engaged. You're not trying to sell them on anything yet. You're not trying to get them to subscribe. And this is where a lot of people jump in way too soon. And they're trying to take people from an ad to a sale of in some cases, expensive product without really building rapport with them or giving back to them.
Right.
And then subscription, which is still not conversion to sell the product. It's just to get a higher level of engagement where they're asking you for things. And that's helping you to narrow down what is this particular person most interested in. Then at that point, it's much easier to convert them because you have multiple products and services. Once through subscription and engagement, you've gotten them to tell you what it is that they really want and value, or you have enough information about them that you can make suggestions, you start to do that. And now you're going to convert. Excitement. So one of the things that we don't do particularly well, we make it very exciting at the start and very exciting once they've sort of finished the estate planning process and things, but creating excitement earlier on in the relationship I thought was obvious in hindsight, but probably not something any of us do, including you guys, super well. Then taking them from excitement to advocacy. When you get them excited, they start to do things for you like testimonials. And then to promotion, where they've done something little, like a testimonial or a little blurb or something like that, which reminds me, we have a contest going. So all you have to do to be entered to win, just to let us know that you're hearing us, is if you share, we're going to keep track of everybody in April that shares. So if you share any episode in April, or you go to the podcast, and we can put up a link, I guess, to the podcast, so that if you give us a review, which we would love, or give us some stars, which we would love. Now, I think if you give us stars, we won't know who you are. So you may need to... Yes, we'll still do it to help us out, which is great. But if you want us to know that you did that, then just shoot us a message on Messenger to any one of us. And then we've got 3 prizes we're going to give out at the end of April. One is this beast of a book, which is awesome. You do not have to read this whole thing. Pick any short chapter. It is The Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. It's a big, massive...
This is an excellent, really accessible resource. Every chapter is like 5-6 pages long or something.
And every chapter, I mean, every person is not going to find every chapter appealing.
Right.
But there are 10 things in here for every person that reads this book, or 20 that could be really changing, earth-shattering for your life or your business. Also, we have produced, both for the law firm and for Success Technologies, which is where you can go to register for Business Black Ops if you want to, some really high-quality Moleskine-style books. And this is a suggestion from Steve Richardson, one of our loyal listeners/visitors. And Steve had suggested that he found, I've talked about this a number of times and he saw me talking about it, that I put together a little sort of description of how I do notebooks and take notes at events and on topics. And that we give 2 of these away along with my, like a little preview, because we're going to publish this thing on how I do the notebooks. But you'll be the first to get it. So we've got 3 things we're going to give away. If you just give us stars and let us know, share an episode, review the podcast, any one or all of those things would be awesome for us. And we'll put an entry in, we'll put your name in, and we're just going to arbitrarily pull 3 of them. And you're going to get these. And thanks to Steve Richardson for sharing. I see Steve is on.
Commented, think about Tools of Titans. Said it looked interesting.
Just does Steve saying he judges a book by its cover?
I think he just did.
He's implying that at least.
I think he's saying, I don't know if the book is any good or not, but
looks interesting.
It looks big, which makes it interesting. So once again, just let's go through that whole idea because this has changed the way that we're doing things. And we can't tell you specific numbers on these yet, but it's just logical that by aligning your metrics with this, if I'm writing to create awareness, am I getting the right people? Am I getting content that is creating awareness, engagement, subscription, conversion, excitement, advocacy, and then promotional referral?
Yeah.
Dr. Peter Wishney is on with us.
Dr. Wishney, yay. So we've got Steve and Dr. Wishney on. We had Charles Poliquin on
Earlier this morning.
Yeah, when we were talking about getting ready for this. He did not say anything about the hooded vest for when your head is cold but your arms are hot. Or
I think he was too busy judging our lunch.
yes, we did. Of course, the one time that we're going to have grilled cheese as one of the foods, Charles Poliquin was on. And listen, anybody that is interested in strength training, fitness, sleep, go check Charles' stuff out. It's just fantastic. So what we're doing is we're going back and trying to align funnels and metrics with these various stages. So be thinking as we go through this today, you guys can comment on how you do it and I could jump in too. How are we using particular things at each particular stage? And everybody listening should be going back through that list over and over again and saying, when I'm writing, when I'm doing video, when I'm doing content, which stage is this for so I make sure I do it in the right way? So for me, I just want to start with one of the programs I went to, which was Perry Belcher on story. And his view was, whoever tells the best stories really controls the marketplace. And I think that's probably true. And if I had to take just one reminder out of this that's easy to remember, it was nothing is more interesting than trouble. And I think that that's true. He had a formula for the hero's journey, which was outstanding. And he's basically saying you could use this when you produce advertising. You could produce when you produce various stages of marketing. You could do this when you produce products to get people to consume them. But if you take everything that he said and just remember nothing is more interesting than trouble, and you begin to create content that describes trouble and the resolution of trouble, you're going to be doing better than you probably ever were before. A good example he gave that also drove this home is, do you remember where you were on June 10th, 2015? I don't know either. I just pulled that in here. But then he said, do you remember where you were on September 11th, 2001? So, you were very young.
Second grade,
But it's true.
But, I mean, I remember seeing Challenger.
Yes. I remember,
about the same
and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember exactly where I was and exactly where I went to see it. And so it's very interesting. So this is just driving home that point that he's making. And the final thing that he put in there that I thought was very interesting was, everybody, well, we take it for granted. We think everybody's heard of HARO, which is Help a Reporter Out, which is a way to, if you have a story to tell, to get in touch with reporters, and also a resource to get reporters or journalists who may be able to help you write these stories if that's not something that you have the staff or capability of doing. He had a very interesting process in there of identifying for a full year what it is that we're going to talk about, and then breaking it down into an editorial calendar.
Right.
And then I'm going to talk, once you guys have gone, about the particular types of different things that would go into that editorial calendar. But I thought this was a really interesting idea of getting people to interview you. Not necessarily because you want them to write an article about it for the Washington Post, although that could come from it too, because you want them to write articles for you.
Right.
So it's just a fantastic idea. So I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to return to content and how you do some of this. Alex, did you have a particular topic from traffic and conversion that you want to talk about, a particular event, a particular resource?
There's a couple things that were pretty good, and I saw this guy going along with stories. I saw this guy at Content and Commerce back in September.
Which is another conference.
Another digital marketer conference. And then he was there, so he did a whole keynote presentation on it, and then he was there at Traffic and Conversion and did a breakout session, again, on story and the power of story in your website. And his brand is Story Brand by Donald Miller, I think. and he takes you through the whole path. I think probably very similar to the way Perry did it, but more focused to how you apply that then to your website and how you take somebody through and structure your website to get them to, you know, into the thought process that they need to either convert or take some kind of action on it. And he actually used a pretty cool example back in September. He used the same example when he was predicting that Donald Trump was going to win the election. And then...
and just so this guy doesn't get a raft of emails, we should say, he wasn't...
He was actually on an Obama special committee, so...
Right. So I mentioned this because of the Scott Adams incident, where this guy is listening to and paying attention to data, makes a prediction and explains why, and then is reviled as taking a political position he didn't really take.
Right.
But carry on, because that's a really interesting story.
So he's using an example of the different campaigns, and he actually had a couple different points about each one. But the one that stood out probably the most, because he reiterated it both times, was the reason Donald Trump is going to win is because he positions himself as the guide. So in every good movie, there's a hero. So like in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is the hero, and Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi is a guide. Or like in any of the Star Wars, or any movie really, just you can kind of identify the characters. And so Donald Trump was the only person in the election, both the primary and the general elections, that positioned himself as the guide instead of as the hero. So he mentioned Jeb Bush, and Jeb Bush's campaign website was a picture of Jeb Bush that he said it looked like just an obituary website, because it said like 1980 or 1993 or whenever he was governor. And the youngest looking old governor, or the oldest looking young governor of all time.
Right.
And it positioned, and then he's like, because it was just a giant picture of Jeb Bush, and Jeb's campaign slogan was just Jeb. So it was all about him. And then you scroll down, and there was a paragraph that he said, nobody's ever read this paragraph. I've never read this paragraph. Nobody's ever read it. Then you scroll down again, and then there's more information about Jeb Bush, and then there's information about what you have to do for Jeb Bush and go and vote for him. And there was a countdown timer for 365 days, because it was a year until the election. And so he said this whole thing was just centered, Jeb's whole campaign, including this website, was centered towards Jeb Bush being the hero and not the guide.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we as business people have a tendency, and you could easily do it.
Yeah, and you know, like, look, let's face it, you need a certain amount of megalomania to run for president in the first place.
Right.
But we all have that little bit of narcissism in our own businesses that's like, oh, I'm a 6-degree black belt, I've done this, I've won this tournament. And we think that all my accomplishments are going to attract, and in part they will, because they add credibility, but we focus on us, the provider of the services, rather than saying, well, what is that mom with the 6-year-old that's not listening to him or to her at home or at school, listening to his teachers, what is martial arts going to do for my kid?
Exactly.
And that may have very little to do with the fact that, oh, you know, I won this championship or that. Yet it's easy for us to get focused on.
It's a balance of credibility and focusing on the person. And that's the other point he made is, whose campaign slogans do you remember out of the most recent campaign? He said it's similar to
Jeb's was Jeb.
Jeb's was Jeb. What do you want? What does he want for America? He wants Jeb for America.
Right.
Hillary Clinton's was I stand with her. So it's all about Hillary Clinton and nothing about America. She wants you to come and stand with her. Donald Trump's was make America great again. Whether you agree with his politics or not, it's a pretty clear message.
I mean, we're just talking about the marketing of it, not the actual policy.
And so he balanced this positioning of him being, business mogul and everything with where he, to a certain degree, I mean, he was probably pretty ambiguous with a lot of stuff throughout the campaign, but he didn't need to be very specific because he was the only one putting America first in his marketing language, whereas everybody else was putting the candidate first.
And even as Sam was talking, weren't you thinking, I was, Sam's got, like he's a Dad Master, he's got this, he's got that. It's still pretty easy to think that that's what, and you were talking about the mom, and a lot of people are probably having the same internal dialogue as me. Doesn't she want a hero? And the answer is,
She does.
she does, but
The 6-year-old is the hero.
Yes!
Not me.
or she's the hero,
To her son, or the dad's the hero. To
not
his son.
us. We're
Yeah.
merely the guide.
guide.
We're
Yes,
the
we're
Yoda.
the guide.
And that is very hard for people to first understand that, and second, come to the reality of how to use that. So I very much liked that
Yeah,
as well, Alex.
he applies. I'll post the link to his website because he applies storytelling not only to your marketing language but also to how you need to be structuring content on your website, and even how you structure your website, where the first thing up front is sort of posing you as the guy, it's posing you as the guide and not the hero, and then just walking them through the specific steps they need to take on the website that then allows them to kind of position themselves as the hero.
So we did mention that we were going to cover, strategy. We were going to cover particular types of tactics and hacks, little things that you could do. But I always like to get to the tactical stuff later. And Alex is going to give you the particular ways to do this, which is tactical. But the big picture is the shift in mindset from I'm the hero to somebody else who's making this buying decision as the hero, and I'm the guide. And now, of course, just coming to understand that with a little bit of help is going to transform what you're doing. But if you take this along with the sort of step-by-step instructions Alex is going to get you to, it's some fantastic stuff. So should we return for a second to the contest and just remind people? By the way, we don't have. Do we have any? What do we have to answer?
Just subscribed to the podcast.
Oh, Nick, thank you. We appreciate that. And if you have the chance to, well, I realize you haven't maybe heard the podcast yet, but if you've heard any of these and you want to give it a rating, that would be great, or a review, that would be fantastic. And then you'll be entered to win. We've got 2 of these Moleskine style notebooks that we created as part of our marketing campaign. They're just blank though, so whoever wins, we're going to have 2 winners of these. Whoever wins those is also going to get a preview of my instructions on how I max out learning and ease of retrieving information in these. And then we have this big dog, Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, which we're also going to give away. So by the end of January, we've got 3 prizes we're going to give away. We may start giving one away next week, and then the week after, and the week after that, but we'll get you those. Liking and loving is noticeably absent, so I'm assuming Greg Buckley has been called away on some kind of an emergency or a mission for God.
Probably.
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
Combination of the two.
And Steve is being very quiet. Does he have a question in there?
He said, oldest young governor, so Jeb was Emperor Palpatine.
Oh, sorry, I laughed at that. So before we go on and Sam, we get to you, like how you might use any of these things that we've been talking about strategically or tactically. Let's talk about this. Now, you haven't had these yet, but you got. Did you get one of these today?
I did not.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about them. I have 3. People are just going to think we have some kind of weird love affair with On It.
They'd be
They're
fairly
accurate, yeah,
yeah.
because the quality of the products is really
Start
good.
doing some wholesale stuff.
We really should put these in the store. But On It produces, one, really great content if you're interested in fitness, nutrition, sleep, just a lot. They have tools for a lot of what we're talking about and teaching here. So this particular one is emulsified MCT oil. So if you're not using MCT oil, Google that and we'll talk about it too on future shows. If you are using MCT oil, these are emulsified, so it's easy to get it to mix. One is vanilla, so you've got MCT with a vanilla flavor, awesome in the bulletproof coffee. One is coconut, same thing. I happen to have also mixed these 2, which caused Robin to shout out how much of that are you even supposed to take.
That's right.
And you correctly, I think, and very bravely stepped in.
Yes. Yeah, I was in the crossfire for a few moments there.
Yeah, you took on Miss Robin and said it's not about how much you're supposed to have.
It's not about how much you need. It's about how much you have.
Although one effect of MCT oil, if you overdose on it, is it can turn you into a hippo.
That's right.
Now, I'm not talking about size, but if you've never if you don't really know how hippos, how would we put this?
Mark their territory.
Yeah, Google how hippos mark
Yeah.
their territory. You'll see what I mean. Because the MCT oil, you don't want to overdose on it. It involves a spraying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do not have an explicit rating. We have the family-friendly rating on this show. Kids love those videos, though.
They're hilarious. I believe there's even a video of a kid at the zoo witnessing it. And it's hilarious.
So, kids, Google hippo marking its territory.
Or just hippo and spray.
Yeah,
That will do it.
I think that probably do it too.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to On It, who I'm sure now appreciates us mixing the MCT oil with the hippo.
As we're talking about hippo spraying, the viewer increases are.
Yes, that's right. We have more viewers now because the word got out on the interwebs. Yeah. Hey, they're talking about hippos. Thank you, everybody that's coming, by the way, and keep hitting the love and like key, sharing. If there's anybody that you know that's got a business or professional practice where they should be doing these things. Oh, thank you. Now, also, last one I wanted to mention was strawberry, and every time I mention this, people say, "What? Why would you put that in your coffee?" Which, of course, it's not for. But if you're doing a fruit smoothie or even a protein smoothie with
That would be a nice addition. Yeah.
Nice addition to that. Yeah. And it's boosting these healthy oils that you need, despite what the federal government's been telling you for, what, like 4 decades now?
Yeah,
40
you need
years.
a lot of cheese.
Yeah.
Steve Richardson posted a Wikipedia article for it.
Oh, on the hippos.
Or
Oh, no.
MCT.
On MCT.
I'm sure if we ask him to, he'll go and find one of those.
And there's really good information on the On It site about these. So this is not an ad for On It, but a really good product that we've discovered and have been sort of testing out. And there are a number of studies done on MCT oil and health, so by all means jump in there. Okay, so Sam, what we were doing last week is I was sort of riffing on some of the things that we had seen or heard, and then you were talking about how you already use that or how you might modify what you're doing. Anything to react to either of those two?
Yeah, so
pieces?
one of our strategies is to be pretty prolific on social media, and we do that with several kind of like levels of content. So one part of it is that idea of giving people a sneak peek into what's happening inside Dragon Gym, whether it's kids or adults or families, training and working out together. And it's the idea of, it's the awareness portion of increasing your familiarity with how the gym looks, what the people look like, what are the types of things they're doing. So the first time you walk into a martial arts studio, our business, it's not, oh my gosh, this huge intimidating thing. Because inherently, starting martial arts is intimidating, right? Whether it's for your kid or for yourself. You might have some fears or false expectations about what's going to happen. So as much familiarity that we can create through social media, that's one of our strategies. And then the next is we put out a series of blog posts, weekly, to kind of start educating people on the process that their kids are going to go through, what to expect. So this is what's happening at Dragon Gym. Once you're here, this is the first step, this is the second step. And how we use the stages in martial arts to develop things like confidence, improve your child's behavior, develop leadership skills. So all of that content is, being driven out there.
But you're not overtly selling or even trying to sell something with that type
We
of
have
content.
not made an offer yet. So, to kind of get into the tactical things, then, people that are engaging with those posts, they have an opportunity to opt in and subscribe. But then we also use retargeting. So somebody that visits a post about developing kids, the confidence in their kids, will then see an offer for a 2-week trial at Dragon Gym.
But you have made them aware and you've engaged with them.
Exactly.
Now, also, I think this is open for debate, but there are people who are sort of fast-tracked. So having a system that makes an offer to people soon, but still at an appropriate time, understanding that only a small fraction of the people that have made contact or become aware of you are engaged.
Yeah, and look, we have the understanding is, I'm talking about kind of like one line
Path,
of,
right.
Our whole approach, right? Yeah, of course we're doing, advertising and people are ready to act, but kind of on that idea of that there are people that are like you said, can be fast tracked. So the best clients for us, best students for us, are those in which multiple family members participate. We get many more kids into the program than adults.
Mm-hmm.
So what we implemented just last week, so I don't really have a lot of data, but I'm optimistic about it, is when somebody enrolls and they have the opportunity to actually buy a trial online,
Mm-hmm.
so they've already bought with us, albeit it's a small amount, in the receipt, and this is an idea I got from you guys based on what you heard at TNC, in the receipt, they then get an offer, a discount offer for themselves to enroll.
Interesting, which is helping you to identify exactly the kind of client you want that has multiple people that are involved.
Exactly.
And in our world, like in the professional practice where I work, it's very similar. Like, we are interested in people who are married with children or grandchildren, and specifically they're 55 to 67,
Right.
because they're motivated to buy from us and do what we do,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also motivated by their kids who are getting married to get their kids to do things, and they're motivated to have their parents get things in order because their parents are oftentimes facing health issues and things like that. So it's we have multiple ways to sell to them. So Sam is saying that you're providing digitally another opportunity to
Right.
buy, and you're using something that's going to trigger the best kind of clients to buy for you. I love it. So just to cycle back, we're about halfway through. Just to cycle back to this idea of storytelling and content, one of the things that I took away from all of the things I was seeing is, before I hop onto that, the We Believe video, I think is really relevant to what Sam was saying. A lot of, they have a lot of data on their We Believe video, which is basically a video shot where their whole team talked about what it was that the company believed. So it was an ability to sort of share belief and kind of the why they were doing what they were doing. And are you looking for it? Oh, yeah. Okay, so Alex will put, it's really interesting, and Alex will put a link to it up in the comments. So if you take a peek at that, and then one more variation for you that you might be interested in is, we create that, I'm getting a peek behind the scenes by doing videos that have a background and look kind of normal, and then we have these secret green screen videos, where each time, if you see the green screen in the video, if you click on that, I'm going to say, hey, we're behind the scenes now. And you can see the camera in the shot, which just psychologically is letting people know, I'm someplace maybe I shouldn't even be, but I'm going to get the insider scoop, which is, again, talking to that point that you were making. Now I can go back to this. So he was suggesting, and this is actually what Lisa and I do, we build a master list of all the things we're going to talk about. We keep an Excel spreadsheet, so when we get topics, we put them in there, and we rate them in sort of 3 categories, along with to-do tasks, which are, we're going to do this, and we've got a timetable. We'd like to, and then this is stuff that maybe we'll do if we ever get the chance. So the 3rd category we rarely ever get to. But it's nice to know that we've captured those things. We do the same thing with content. We make these lists of things that are high priority to talk about, that are going to be most appealing to the best kind of clients. And again, give them a better experience. Then we build an editorial calendar. So the last few weeks of each year and the first few weeks of each year are all dedicated to taking those topics that we put together and putting them in a calendar. They did a very interesting thing, I think. And then, of course, you want to integrate multiple forms of content on platforms that are particularly appealing to your kinds of clients and customers. So you're using social media because I'm pretty sure that you figured out the particular platforms on which the parents who are buying for their kids are spending a lot of time. Because the kids, it doesn't matter if they're on Snapchat or whatever it is, if the parents are the buyers and they're on Facebook.
Yeah, and we do dedicate some resources to the quote unquote younger platforms, because as the kids get older, they're not necessarily old enough to make the buying decision, but they do become influencers.
Yeah, they're driving the buying decision.
Exactly. So we still are, and plus they're growing platforms, so we want to be on Snapchat. Instagram is a little more mature than Snapchat, but we're there as well. But my buyers are on Facebook.
And so right now the bulk of the time, energy, resources, and money are being spent on Facebook, and you're
Correct.
developing and testing and seeing how these other things work. So it's build a master list of topics, what you're going to talk about, the big topics and the small topics. It's build an editorial calendar around that and release that information according to that calendar across multiple platforms. And one of the things that we should probably do is see if we could find or create a form for everybody. One of the things that Alex and I have found is it's easy to say, oh, we're going to do this. And it's going to be the ad that drives to this landing page with this video. But you've got to create the ad. You've got to create the video. You have to build the copy. The video is going to take them somewhere and have them do something. So you might need another page. You might have to create an email sequence that if they don't buy, teaches them more about it so that they do. So having a methodology of setting that all out, and we've kind of developed one recently, so we'll, at some point, we'll share that. But this was particularly useful to me, and Alex, I'd like to know if you have a different view on this, but he kind of gave the different types of blog posts that they put up and how often they posted each type. So of course, he was speaking from a digital online retail standpoint, but they're building customers in something called on the Survival Life platform who are interested in the outdoors, survival issues, camping, those kinds of things. So he had list posts. Now, interestingly, it just says that my notes on that are on page 79. So if I turn, because I have this indexed, if I turn to page 79, here's all the information on list posts. He does one per month. These are also pejoratively called listicles, you know, the 4 things you need to know, these 7 things you need to know. Then they also had what they called fishbone posts. I haven't been able to figure out why they call them that, but these are blog posts where you're sort of curating and archiving information, photo with a little bit of copy and a link to, so it might be on a big topic. And if you wanted to see the uber example of this, it would be there was a post on the knife laws and carrying knives in all 50 states.
Oh, yeah.
So they have the 0 position in Google search and the 1st position and probably the 2nd position on that. So these fishbone posts are, you know, they might have 25 recipes, for example, where you could use some type of ingredient. So you've got a picture of the particular recipe with a link to somebody else's article. And what they described their process is if that was a big hit, they would then go back and try to write articles so that eventually they'd be linking to their own and somebody else's. So a very, 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 very savvy system for finding out what your audience is super interested in without a ton of work and curating other people's information. So if you had an audience and you wanted to know, are they interested in these 7 ways of doing things, and you found 7 ways of doing it on other people's sites, you could curate all of those. And then, if that was a big hit with the people that you advertised to and sent it there and sent out by email to your list that you had posted this blog, if that was a big hit, then you'd start writing that content, short blogs on each of those. So you're linking to content on your site. I thought that was fantastic. There were also infographics, he was saying, shareable videos. I loved the idea of, and I plan on doing this, of the top-down video. So you've seen this predominantly with recipes and cooking.
Oh, yeah.
But there is no reason we couldn't figure out a way to do that, like somebody unpacking their dough box and the equipment from their bag and describing each thing, or in your case, an unboxing type of video, or even describing how you do something like in my process. Showing books, showing a list of things we have people do, showing this boring estate planning questionnaire, but describing why they have to do it. Top-down video, people are used to engaging with those. They find them fascinating. So again, to use your kind of terminology, you're on a greased chute there. When people see that, they go, "Oh, I'm usually interested in those." So, so there are a couple more. Alex, and then we'll go back to Sam and say, any ideas from this? Were there any others that you wanted to? Oh, that's awesome.
So I posted a link to their list of ultimate blog posts, which there's more than however many they gave you there.
I was editing heavily.
I've done a crowdsourced post.
I'm going to download this because this is fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they also, if you're taking the digital marketer certification, I think it's the content management certification, has a breakdown on how you do each type of post and how it should look and feel.
We could do a show. If people are interested in that, just let us know. We could do a show on just these blog post types and how we do them.
So similar to what you were just talking about, crowdsourced posts is where you pull in information from other blogs, other writers, and sort of compile all of that with usually some kind of image up top with a description down below. I did sort of an interview crowdsourced post. Interview post recently with 3. So I just went out, asked 3 nationally recognized credit experts the same question.
I saw that. That was a really good one.
And I didn't put any kind of call to action in this particular post, but we probably could go back and edit it, which was actually a big thing that if you didn't talk about it last time, we should talk about this time, is editing. And
yes, we have it in the content because that was a really important one.
And so we just went out and asked 3 credit experts the same question, and then basically gave a brief introduction about what was the question and why, and then had a picture of the expert with a brief description of who they are, and then their answer. And so we did that. And then one guy even let us use one of his Facebook Live videos that he did. So we just even put that right in the blog post.
And that's a brilliant strategy, is finding people whose content is compatible with or sort of nicely supplements or mixes with yours.
And I mean, these are credit experts who are running credit repair companies, so they're not necessarily, they're not necessarily competitors or anything like that, but they're all, people who are looking to present information and actually help people. They're not somebody who's just out there to scam people or anything like that. So looking for people who have expertise and who are guides already in a field builds credibility for your blog, but at the same time, you're sort of piggybacking off their name recognition, and you're promoting them as well. So we also linked to each one of their sites or Facebook pages or things like that, and then boosted the post so they're actually getting free promotion back towards them.
Now, by the way, if you've been watching this or you're watching this later and you're thinking like, oh my God, this is crazy. We just probably talked about 10 big strategies.
Oh yeah.
And 10 or 20 tactical ways of implementing them. You just have to pick one of these or 2 of these that you're making your best guess will be most interesting or useful or create more awareness, more engagement, more opt-in, more conversion, and then figure out where in the funnel you're going to put those. So don't be intimidated by the sheer volume of information here. You only need to pick 1 or 2 of these. I mean, every one of these things we were doing to some extent or another. For us, this conference tends to be, what could we refocus on, or what could we alter a little bit tactically that's going to get us more? And what we found is that just by going through that process periodically, we get a real boost. Before I go to you, because I want you to react to this too, so one of the things that Alex has alluded to that we want to spend a little bit of time on is we're going back. We're getting the analytics on all of our blogs. And the ones that are most heavily trafficked, we're going to update those and have a 2017 version or some way of getting more traffic to it. At the other end of that, so here are the most heavily trafficked, the ones that haven't gotten any traffic in a long time, we're going to redirect those to blogs that are getting traffic, and we're going to kind of kill those off. We'll do a 301 redirect, and you don't need to know what that means. Just understand that if you've got blogs that aren't, and you've got content that aren't getting any traffic and haven't for a while, sending them to a page that's relevant so that if somebody does go there, they get to the correct content, and you haven't just killed off that page, but that you're not showing that page to the world.
Yeah, they called it the smell test, and example from Digital Marketers, they had 95 posts in 2015, and they went down to 58 posts in 2016, and had more traffic and more conversions
by using this strategy
with having less posts.
And then eventually you're going to get to that middle part, but if you want to 80-20 this thing, the thing that we think makes the most from the data that we've gleaned from this, and from the anecdotal stories, we think that going back and identifying the top maybe 10 or 15 posts and updating them in some way, shape, or form, and driving more traffic to them for the redirect of lightly trafficked pages, and advertising and things like that. What's going to happen is the algorithm, the Google robot, is going to see that this was good evergreen stuff, and now more people are going back to it. so it'll give it even more weight. So we have one more round of this, but any reactions to any of those things that anything you would change as a result of hearing those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a lot of old blog content that I need to go through that exercise and say, what's performing best. We're in the midst of a website rebuild, so now's a good time to do that.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then I love the idea of bringing other experts in. And that's something that...
well, you have this huge network of
a national network of, martial arts experts that we could bring in to provide content. It will help promote them, what they do, build their credibility. It builds ours. And we're so geographically constrained. Mm-hmm. There's no issue of...
competition.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic.
And I have my notes actually open from this particular talk, and they talked about doing redirective batches of posts down to one post that sort of replaces all those. And then they also
so if you have a bunch of posts on related kind of
topics or content,
just send them to the best one.
Sending them to the best one, or creating a new post that's a little more up to
date. And then redirecting
all of those to one. And then even the updating and republishing of it is improving something first and keeping it up to date. So they talked about doing text updates. They would do video updates, so they would convert the blog into some kind of video content and posting that in the blog and republishing it. Image updates, and this was a big one, especially for us right now, is congruent imagery across social media, blog, website.
Yeah.
And especially so, Digital Marketer does this extremely well when they post about the blog on social media. When they click on that image, it's the exact same image as the featured image or imagery within.
I'm terrible about that, and I should really do better.
Yeah, we need
that's
to
a
work
big
on
part
that.
of our website rebuild. Is like our website has a bunch of very well done, but they're stock photos.
Yeah.
But then we're so prolific on the blog posting and social media, and they're in many cases also professional photos, but of our real students, real people. So there's that little bit of a disconnect.
StoryBrand had going back a little bit had I forget what the statistics were, but they had a pretty impressive statistic on using stock photos on your website versus real photos or actual
which ones
screenshots.
perform better?
Yeah, if it's like stock photos on especially in headers of websites, unless it's like a stock photo of like a screenshot of a software or something.
Sure.
They performed way poorer
Interesting.
than actual photos.
Well, we've noticed in ads that Alex and I have run that real photos have been performing.
Oh yeah, it's the same.
Yeah,
Thought process there.
Now there are some stock images that we wouldn't want to give up that have done really well.
No, and with ads it works pretty well, but you have to have the same. If you're using that particular imagery
Right.
in the ad, you have to be using the same imagery or the same kind of language on the landing pages.
Yeah, the language, and in my small
Actually,
case of my own business is I know statistically that real photos of real students in Facebook ads perform better
oh yeah, I bet.
than stock photos.
And we've got a bunch of people on, and we thank you guys. And if you know anybody that would benefit from listening to the show today, be sure to share it or hit the like and love button. Also, just a quick reminder. And then Alex, we'll go to your segment, and then Sam, we each have a little quick segment.
Yep.
But just a reminder, we've got 3 prizes we're going to give away in the month of April. All you have to do is share or give us the stars on the podcast and let us know, or write a review, which would be awesome. It's hard to get people to do because we're asking you to take time from a busy schedule, but it would be fantastic to do it. And we've got some really good stuff for you. So you have a resource that you're going to share with people for your segment today.
Yeah, this is something that is we've talked about before as the lead client avatar, and we've talked about this with various other clients, and this is something that I use, this particular worksheet that we printed up, which basically has 4 quadrants. So goals of the lead or client, leading neck pain points, objections, and then where does your lead or client communicate? And then there's suggestions like books, magazines, blogs, websites, conferences, direct mail, or just really thinking about where they're interacting with either your content, competitors' content, or with each other. Because that goes along with building awareness up front, you've got to be looking in the right areas to build awareness, and then
know the right places to
right,
engage.
and then excitement and promotion later on is they need to be communicating with each other, and you should be looking at where they're going to be communicating with each other and making content that's most effective in those areas. So if it's on Pinterest where they're communicating with each other the most, having content that's more suited towards Pinterest or Instagram or something like that is super important for you. Or if it's email or Facebook groups or things like that, creating content that's going to work across platforms and the platforms that are most preferred by your leads and clients. And then something that you've come up with and have since developed a little bit more is I help blank, which is the sort of demographic section of some of your leads or clients, to blank. So what are the goals, or what do they want to accomplish by? How are you going to help them do that or guide them to do that, even if, and that's the objections. So filling out these outer quadrants first and being as detailed as possible in these, and then taking that information, and this is something that you do with clients, and I've seen you do with clients, initially, so you actually talk them through, in essence, these 4 quadrants instead of having them kind of think about it or write it down in a worksheet form, and then pulling that information and filling out that middle section. So I can put a downloadable version of this on the page if you want that.
So one, this is a great resource for you. It involves some of our best thinking about this and the process that we use. But here's the cool thing. Alex has taken something that he uses as a tool when he's teaching this and has created a resource for people. Now, you got to make sure you're sharing that resource at the right level. But this might be something that excites someone who's now engaged with you, or that excites them and gets them to become an advocate for you, to offer you testimonial or to share those sorts of things. So.
Right, and this is something that I use either with clients, or if in an initial consultation, I'll sort of do a mini interview and kind of ask them questions based off of those 4 quadrants to get a better understanding of what are the actual goals of the project that we're doing. If it's a live event, who are the leads and clients that we need to be reaching for this event. Or I've used this in a presentation actually about client and lead acquisition with credit repair companies. So actually walking them through that whole process first, and then giving them the resource that they need. So we went through this whole worksheet as a group at the conference, and some people shared their worksheets with the group, and then we actually delivered them a downloadable version that they can go back and use later. Because every single business is going to have multiple lead client avatars for different areas. So a client avatar for a kid, even though that the parents are probably buying the classes, is going to look a little bit different than an adult class.
Yeah,
and the marketing for it is going to look different than an adult class. So
very much so.
You need to have multiple for that.
That might even be different for you from gym to gym based on the different
areas,
like demographics.
Yes.
So, but here's the thing about it. Don't assume that because you've taken your most brilliant and best thinking and put it into a usable form, that people are going to understand how valuable that is. You've got to sell that to people too, to make it clear to them why they should be doing this and how valuable it is to them in the multiple ways. Like, for example, that is a really brilliant training tool that you could use within your organization as well. So if you were teaching all of your instructors who are in a way involved in the sales process,
that's right, absolutely,
to get them on the same page.
Yeah.
Also, for those of you, this is pretty late in the game to be doing this, but for those of you who want our best, most up-to-date, total, thorough thinking on things like that, come to the live event. It is filling up. We just had 2 more people by.
Nice.
So I think we're at, we have a max capacity in the room of 35 or 40. I can't remember what it is. This is for Business Black Ops in October in Phoenix. And you're just in the room with these very, very, very smart people who are all helping you to figure this stuff out and how to do it. And I think we're at 21 spots going. We haven't even really opened it to the public. So if you've gone before and you want the sort of family pricing, you just go to 3daystosuccess.com, the number 3daystosuccess.com. If you've never gone, you have to call Lisa at 610-933-8069, and she'll get you set up with a little interview with me. Because we want to make sure that it makes sense for you and that you're a good match for us and we're a good match for you. Is that it? Is that the right one?
Yep.
Okay.
I can post the.
Oh, you can post the link. That'd be great. And the three of us are always there, and we've come up with we have really come up with some fantastic stuff for this one. So, Sam, anything that we were just talking about there? I have one last loop through of some stuff for everybody.
Well, I think this exercise, and we do it every year in Arizona too. Is
It's
really
in the field manual now.
Yeah, and it's so valuable, and it's something that we go back to regularly, and not just from location to location, but within our, within each location because of the variety of product offerings.
Steve or Greg Buckley.
Greg Buckley showed up
Buckley
big time. Ooh,
good to have you on, Greg.
Welcome, Greg. Thank you.
I was on watching Greg's show this morning.
This morning?
Yeah, he had some John Fogerty blasting in the background.
Nice.
Yeah, he's
Greg
great for
knows.
baseball
We were just
season.
complimenting Greg on his amazing technology too. He is like the Howard
on it.
Stern level studio that he's got going there. Yeah. I'm just gonna. We've got. What do we have? 6 minutes left.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through. There were 25 wicked smart marketing hacks. So we promised you some hacks, just some little things to jot down and be guided by. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but I want to give you 5 or 10 in the last few minutes. Then we'll each have some closing remarks. Increase campaign offers to existing clients. So figure out who your best clients are and make them more offers because they probably like you, see value in what you do, and will get more value. So remember, the big message out of today is not how do I take these and make more money. That will happen naturally if you say, how do I take all these strategies and tactics and hacks and apply them in a way to create better client awareness, engagement, experience when they become clients or customers. And that's one of the things that I don't think any of us are optimizing is when they first come on board and pay, how can we make that way more exciting?
Yeah.
And we all do that really well at different stages, but that's one that we, like as I look at all of our processes, we could all do a better job of that. And chances are, if that's true for us, that's true for folks watching too. But if you've got a particularly great way of doing that and want to share it, just put it in there. Sell the ad, not just the landing page. I thought that was really good advice. Like spend time on that ad, that's selling, clicking on that ad. Yeah, that one was a little bit technical here. Oh, mobile ads. I don't know if you've tested this yet or not, but the statistics were off the chart on having a buy button that said buy from your phone. So just telling people that they could do it. The data also showed that there were many, many people who started the buying process and the sort of research process on the phone or mobile device, but do finish it on
56%.
56% finish the buy
on a
on
desktop or laptop. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Give them the option to buy more than one tripwire at a time. So that's their sort of parlance. That's the stuff that you offer people that's informational and a way to get to know you. And so this is, I think, one of the things that you were taking from, if they buy one, give them the chance to buy 2 or 3 more or a bundle at a discount. So here... so this was interesting. Now this doesn't apply directly to me. It may apply to you, but there was this whole idea of sending them to Amazon to buy. So if you have an Amazon store, sending your customers to Amazon, even to buy your own stuff, is a great idea because you then get all this data on what else they're buying and what else they're interested in. So you're supplementing in that form that you were just showing everybody a lot more data about not just what people are telling you is important to them, but where they're spending their money. And then, let me see here. Oh, the use of animated GIFs. Have you been testing that?
No, not yet, but you can use animated GIFs in Facebook ads now.
Yes, and apparently, again, they're early to this game and had a lot of data on it that makes me want to go and try it. So, again, we're always telling you when we've tried something and it works.
Yeah.
These are things they were just saying, this is what we've done.
They had another one using cinemagraphs, so a picture with part of the
Right.
picture
That moves.
Yeah. That was something else they had a lot of conversion on.
So we're really at the end. Any last words of advice or messages for everybody? We hope you enjoyed it. Remember,
Go out and get your megaphone for training and just general amplified background noise. Your neighbors will love it. I called my neighbor, Steve Thomas. Steve.
I once wanted to name Tucker Steve Thomas so that I could shout from the back door, Steve Thomas, and have him come back in. Oh, like Tucker's responded to Steve Thomas
with the next dog.
with a new dog.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that. Not Steve Thomas. My neighbor's name.
A good one that we have started testing and that I talked about previously, I think, is True Conversions.
Oh yeah.
It's a digital marketer company now, and I think it just came out of beta. So unfortunately, we're locked in at like $100 a year or something, and the price went up to like $600 or $800.
Oh wow.
But it's pretty amazing. They had a whole breakout session on it at Traffic and Conversion, basically saying why the title of the breakout session was why surveys suck. Mm-hmm. And it was using long form surveys.
Something we tell people to do.
Yeah. There are places to use it. So they sort of went over where you should use long form surveys. And in fact, True Conversion has a long form survey tool. But there are places where long form surveys are not a good idea, where you'd replace it with a micro survey asking mini questions on your website. And then it had screen recordings and form analytics and funnel analytics. So you're putting in each stage of your funnel, and then it's telling you where people are dropping out, and even down to the amount of time it takes for people to fill out a form field. And then it will, so like for instance, the example that they used is they had a form on mobile where it took them no time to fill out the first name field, no time to fill out the last name field, but then when they got to email, people were filling it out 1 or 2 times, and if they had to fill it out more than twice, they would drop off the form.
Yeah.
And it was because the keyboard that would pop up was a regular QWERTY keyboard and didn't have a mobile @ symbol for them to type in their full email address without having to go into a different keyboard.
Right.
So they figured all of this out without asking anybody. They just saw what was happening in these forms.
Because this is NSA level stuff. I mean, you can actually see what they're doing.
Yeah, and then with the screen recordings, they have all these, basically have pulled it down into what mouse movements on the screen, because it tracks and shows you lines, what each type of movement is telling you about their experience on the website. So if they're, for instance, if they're sharply moving up to the corner, that means that they're going to exit. Or if they're moving around the mouse a lot, either vertically or horizontally, they're super bored, unless they're moving it slowly across the screen and they're following the reading. You can also sort of tell the age of people, because a lot of them move the mouse over to the side to scroll, which is hilarious.
That's what you have said. You have said about both of us, actually.
I still do that. So
it's it senses your age. So there may be some.
I don't know if that senses your age. You can just see how old people are. But then it.
By the way, I noticed we're both wearing vests.
We are.
Yours just doesn't have a hood.
Which, when it goes against.
This is kind of my Emperor Palpatine version of the show. Sam, any last words for everybody?
No.
I could just see you going like this on the screen. There's a slight delay. Use the Force.
Are we
done? That was for Steve.
Well,
Steve Richardson.
We'll cut it off before we say it.
Before it just goes bad. Listen, thank you, everybody. Have a great remainder to your weekend. We will see you next week for an In Top Form show, totally unrelated to business and marketing.